Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, other court issues, as well as CPS. I am your host, Marianne Petrie. I have a return guest on. I have Marineka Bowman on, and accompanying her today is Nick Giles. And what we're going to do is update everyone on Marineka's case from October to the current date, which includes her response, and we will talk about the intentional infliction of emotional distress and the Supreme Court appeals. However, we are also going to continue this conversation tomorrow and have both Marineka and Nick on. And we're going to talk about other issues as well, but we're going to save that for tomorrow. So I welcome you both to the show. And how are you?
Good
Fine,
morning.
thank
you
you.
for
Thank
having
you
us.
for having us.
Oh, I'm glad to have you on. So what has been going on since we last spoke, Marineka? And
Mhm. Sorry.
that's okay, you're fine.
Okay. Well, on the 21st of October of this year, I went back to court. Like I told you, I went back to court. And during that hearing, the judge clearly stated that she is not going to change the sole custody or the sole visitation. So that's off the table, even though there is complaints and actually not even complaints, evidence of the abuse that is going on with my daughter, with all the pictures and stuff like that. So she still made that statement. And even the gal, my daughter have a gal. I don't even know what's the point of her at this point, because she went to 2 case management conference, and she haven't really said anything concrete or anything that convinced me that she is going to properly represent my daughter. The most that I have heard from her is that the case load is too much. It's 800 pages. So she haven't got through to it. She haven't got through reading the 800 pages as yet. And she already went to two hearings already. So I don't know what is her purpose and what is her intention or what she intend to do in regards to my child. This background. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah,
I'm sorry about the background. It's so distracted. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
I have to figure out how to get it off. But nevertheless, so with the judge saying that, and also my concern was the counselor that my daughter was seeing. Both parents were not obligated to participate in the counseling with my daughter, but we were obligated to take her, make sure she's dropped off, and that was it. But this counselor that she was going to the name is Turning Corners. They're from Newark, Delaware. And the agency is Turning Corners, like I said. That counselor reported to the father and his attorney information that she alleged my daughter stated in her counseling sessions. For example, one of the things that they did mention that my daughter said she hates me and she don't want to live with me. That's one of the things that they said. But all the statements, I'm not sure on all of the statements that she made. They allege that she made. And so she's reporting back to the father and his attorney. They're having discussions. So that's a breach of HIPAA violation.
Uh-huh.
I did try to make a report to HIPAA and the ORC, but they claim that the complaint was not complete, so I have to go back and make sure that it's completed. So she stated that I was unwilling to cooperate in the counseling. Again, I was not. And I think I mentioned this on previous broadcasts that I'm not obligated to be a part of this counseling. This counseling is just for my daughter. And she reported to the court that I was unwilling to participate in the counseling because she asked me a question and I said, I have nothing to say or nothing to discuss. She went back to say that that I'm unwilling to participate in the counseling and that I was being late. So, and because of my behavior, she cannot continue counseling with me. And I said in the court, I said, why are you making the counseling about me? This counseling is not about me. It's about my daughter. My daughter is there. The first day when I went to the counseling, Marianne, the counseling was supposed to start at 5 o'clock. This counselor never showed up until I said 5:45, 5:45. So she told me that she didn't know why I was there so early because she got the time that she's supposed to be there is 5:30. So I said, that's the email that I got, 5 o'clock. So right there and then we agreed verbally that I'm going to come 5:30 the next meeting instead of 5 o'clock. And we agreed upon that. And she stated in the court that I was being late for the sessions and all of that stuff, even though, there was misunderstanding in the first one, as she stated, and we verbally agreed for a different time. And then also she stated that because I was going late, I was impeding on the other sessions that she had at 6 o'clock, which was not true. This counselor followed me after both sessions that she had with my daughter. Upon leaving, she followed us. She followed my daughter and us. She followed my daughter and I. She was driving a white Murano. Like I tell Nick, if I know that she was going to do that, I was going to stop and take her license plate because she falsifying information to the court. And she's doing stuff that is beyond that she's not supposed to be doing. So I don't know. Well, but what did you say, Marianne?
I was going to say, I think she should be reported to the APA and the licensure board. They should know about her behaviors and that she is conflict of interest, that she's only reporting to the father and his attorney. And also, it's very odd that any counselor would say, I just want to talk to the child, and not any of the parents.
But it's from my observation, from what my observation of being in these sessions, like I said, our office, the office spirit is not equipped for, is not children friendly. And while she was talking to my daughter, the door was open into a common area that anybody could walk in that area and listen to the conversation. The dad is sitting right there. She's saying, but my daughter, from what I overheard with both sessions, she's the one who questioning my child. It's not like my daughter is volunteering any information, She's the one who's asking all the questions. And
she's leading her.
Yes. Because my friend that was accused all along in this case, the last session she was questioning my daughter about him, and I was like, what prompted her to ask about him? Why are you questioning her about him? So, but I didn't. That's why when she asked me if I want to say anything, I didn't.
Well, what that shows is she's conspired with your ex to communicate on that. And he said to question that. He used her to question that question.
Correct. And like I did say to you, Nick, she mentioned to me that every time my daughter finished a session, she would run and tell the file everything. But she don't really have to, because the door, like I said, her door is open to the common area. The dad is sitting there. The dad could hear everything or whatever they conspire to talk about or allege that she's talking about. So there's no need for my daughter to go back. And I asked her, I said, don't you see that is a issue that after every session, she's running and telling everything? Don't you see something is wrong with it? And then when I go, she's not doing that with me. She was like all off. She didn't know what to do with herself. So that was her. But I'm going to come back to this counselor after. I'm going to tell you for her back again. So as after I respond to the court that I would not be engaging in the hearing that they have set for March 2023. And I just want to say why I'm not engaging, because when I really sit down and I examine every piece of evidence on all the key players and what is going on. I could see everything is stacked against me. There's no way that I have a chance of winning, even with an attorney. You know, they have this counselor, which they're using as a key witness, and with her evidence and everything, you know, is no chance for me to win anything. And I would never waste my money because I already see what they're doing. And then the judge already made a prejudgment that she's not going to change nothing, even though there's evidence that my child is being abused. So why am I engaging with you? I'm not going to engage with you because it's the same psychological abuse in court, the same humiliation, it's the same thing over and over, going to keep recycling over and over.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to keep my sanity. I'm not going to engage with them because I already see what they're doing. Because like I said, I went, mentioned before prior podcast, I went to court in June of this year with an attorney. The judge had a different demeanor. Now that you know that I don't have an attorney, you starting back with what you were doing previously in the beginning. So I'm not going to engage with them. Mm-hmm. So I did had a response, which was funny. And Nick, you want to say about the response? But, you know.
You want me to read the response?
Yes, if you want.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Okay. It's an answer. They were looking for an answer, but we gave them an answer and a motion for petition for modification of visitation. And we at first put this may be amended at any time. That way we're not holding ourselves into any statement that's here. We can change it, take it out, add in, whatever. And then it says, come now, Marineka, in pro se, in pro per, I have consulted for legal advice and on information and belief. Various unnamed parties associated with this case have caused harm to Marineka and her daughter. Also offered to the court on information and belief. Various parties in connection with this case now and in the past have been biased or colluding or both. Also offered on information and belief. There have been numerous ethical and constitutional rights violations in proceedings, filings, and motions. And before I go on, I want to point out how I kept saying on information and belief. That's also not blocking us into any statement that, because if for some reason we're wrong about anything we're about to say, we can go, well, it was this information that gave us that belief. Thank you for correcting me. And then I go, now that was her answer. And then now she's going to motion. The motion says, I now motion to the court my withdrawal from the proceedings. This court has all the hallmarks of a kangaroo court, and I will not comply with unconstitutional proceedings engaging in apparent custodial interference of parties to be named at a future date and time in another venue. And then I go into, I list a few counts. We could go for her and I could have put together hundreds and hundreds of counts, I'm sure. But we just put out 3, you know, that you get an average with 3, you know. And so we went ahead and threw in 3 major things that, especially at the judge, that's kind of what we wanted to aim our target at, is the judge here. All the, like it said, the other parties to be named at a future date and time. And count 1 says offered as information, as evidence on information. Now we're bringing in evidence. Before they were claims, now we're bringing in as evidence. Count 1 offered as evidence on information and belief. That Judge Natalie Haskins, presiding over this case now and in the past, has been biased, colluding, as exhibited on October 21st, 2022 in a Zoom case management conference. Judge Natalie Haskins has presided a predisposed judgment as observed by Judge Natalie Haskins' admission in the court. Father has sole custody and in not changing it, as well as a ruling to lodge a completely new lawsuit without foundation. Count 2, offered as evidence on information and belief that this court is allowing abusive and frivolous lawsuits in violation of Rule 1-341, bad faith, unjustified proceedings. Worsham versus Greenfield, 2013, Maryland, Lexus 823. Judge Natalie Haskins has denied straight 8 motions, now again for the 9th time, and again without foundation, and is extremely frivolous behavior, and Judge Natalie Haskins should have ruled against this according to Delaware Code Title 10-803 in favor of the defendant. This behavior exhibits a pattern of biased behavior and acts outside of the law on information and belief. Count 3, offered as evidence on information and belief, attorney Laura Haskins has engaged in several ethical and illegal behaviors. Attorney Laura Brooks has a clear history of making laws on the fly. This behavior was exhibited in this case, and other witnesses have expressed Laura Brooks has had similar behaviors. Also offered into evidence on information and belief that Judge Natalie Haskins has allowed and endorsed this unethical and illegal behavior. Also offered on information and belief. Laura Brooks and Judge Natalie Haskins are in clear violation of 9-105, unjustified denial or interference with visitation, which in some states is called custodial interference. Denying holidays that were ordered by this Kangaroo Court and denied without cause. All other counts will be raised in another courtroom at a date and time of the respondent's choosing during discovery of cases filed at that future date. Civil rights violations have no statute of limitations. And then that's where we ended it.
That sounds excellent.
Thank you.
Yes.
Now, did you get a response back or nothing?
Nothing.
They're going to, well, there was kind of a response. Not the way we intended it, but I'll let her explain some of the responses she's got since then.
Yes. One of the response that I got is first when I went to file the paperwork, the clerk at the front desk, she was like a little nippy with me because I accidentally put my hands into the window, and then I guess she probably was having a bad day, I don't know. So she went to make a copy of the motion that I filed, and then she came back. She was like, "Oh, I am so sorry. I hope you don't feel like I'm rushing you or anything like that. Please take your time, because I don't want you to go and say that I'm rushing you." So, but I didn't pay her no mind. And so when I go home and I thought about it, I was like, oh, she read what I wrote, but I wasn't accusing her of anything. So with the counselor now, I think they're using the counselor, I would say, as a mule. So prior to this, the counselor stated that my daughter's supposed to have one-on-one counseling with her for emotional stabilization reasons. And now she said the order has changed. Since we make this response back to the court, she said the order have changed. And now I have to do 8 sessions with my daughter to strengthen my parental bond and to help me to better direct my daughter with emotional issues that she's having. I don't know where she got that order from, because I never received an order from the court. So I don't know where the order came from.
Here we are making up things on the fly again.
Yes. So like I was explaining to him, when I saw her response, I said, you know what? They're trying to get me to re-engage with them because they don't want to come out directly and respond to what was written to the court. And so they're using this counsel to get me to re-engage, but I'm not going to engage with her because now they're stating that I have mental health issues. And I know if I engage with her, it's just going to open a window for them to write a whole lot of things that I do have mental health issues. So I'm not engaging with her, period. And then from what she did prior to sharing information with the father and she's siding with them, there's no way that I would engage with her. I don't know why she think that counseling session will go well anyway, go over well with me and her anyway, with what she's doing. You know, you doing all this deceitfulness to have my child taken away from me. So why do you think that I would want to sit down in a session for you to tell me what? For you to tell me what?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to engage with her. I'm not going to engage with them. So let them make the decision. Let them go ahead and do what they need to do. I'm not engaging with them. You know, you have to reserve yourself. It's like I tell Nick, I just need to regroup, re-strategize, and refocus on how to deal with them. You can't always engage, because the minute you engage, like Nick told me this morning, it's just like in a way you admitting and not admitting to what is going on, you know?
Yeah, like with the like sometimes with Marineka and then other people too, like the court will order, or in her case, maybe not even order, they just make it up and say you need to take this psych test, and then you complying with that is an admitting without admitting that you have a psychological problem. You should be arguing that, or just not, or like that thing said, I do not comply. There's no, and then I'll let Marineka explain to you what on the when she actually sat down with the psych, what the psych said to her about that.
The DFS worker, yes. So they have a DFS case open against me, and this is going on to next week will be 6 months since this case has been open against me, since from July 11th. And I haven't heard from DFS from after that worker came. Nobody never called me, nobody never contacted me, never received any email, I never met with anyone, nobody never met, you know. So nobody engaged with me about this case. I didn't even know the case was still open. I had no idea that this case was still open. So now that I'm not engaging with the counselor, they came with a case now. So, you know, you see the game that they're playing.
So
it's
when
this
counselor, she was appointed by the judge?
I don't even know, because when September 7th, when we had a case mediation, when I did try to find out who ordered her, his attorney stated, my ex-attorney Laura Brooks stated that I have no right to find out anything, who recommended counselor, anything like that, because he has sole custody. I have no right to ask anything. I have no right to know anything. The father maker, whoever made the decision, is I don't have to know anything. So I don't know who appoint her or how she come into play, or you know, who make the recommendation. Because my concern with her is she works with mostly, when you watch her background on LinkedIn and even the website, she worked with older kids, not kids as young as my daughter. And then if you see how the office is set up, she don't have anything set up for children young as my daughter, period. So because he has sole custody, I didn't have it right. So I you know.
As far as her credentials, does she have credentials in child psychological abuse, parental alienation?
As far as I read, no. That's why I didn't want her. That's why I was objecting to her. That's why that was my main objection for her not to counsel my daughter.
Yeah, that's their ploy. They always bring in somebody that appears to have some type of credentialed background, and that they can persuade that whatever they're saying backs up what the like her ex is trying to say in the background. And so they always set you up that way. And Marianne makes a good point. You've got to make sure these people have those backgrounds, and if they don't, then you object. And then if they still make you say, then I will not respond to this.
Because that's something I wish I would have done in the beginning of my case, because we were stuck. I don't know. The ex would pick counselors. I was always the last to know, but this woman had credentials, and massive credentials in other areas, but not in child psychological abuse or parental alienation. So I was all new to this. So this is to serve as a warning to all parents that are stuck in this position to totally investigate. Go on,
Yeah.
Marineka. I'm sorry.
So she have, from what I saw, most of her background is in drug and alcohol. So I don't know,
Marineka,
Mhm.
I was gonna have earlier. I was trying to have you tell the viewers about when you sat down with that psychologist or whatever, and they did the psychological test on you, and she had said about this isn't normally what reasons
Okay.
for doing this.
Okay. Yeah, they did send me last, I think is in between 2020, late 2020 to 2021, they had sent me to do a mental health evaluation, get a mental health evaluation done. And I did not choose the doctor that they wanted. I chose somebody that I felt comfortable with. So I went to that woman, and she was like concerned of their reasoning why the mental health evaluation was requested, because she said, because they sent me to do the mental health evaluation because I was complaining that, my daughter here was being cut and shaved, and things that was going on, and the father was keep saying no. So that was the reason why the judge sent me to do the mental health evaluation. And that psychologist said, that's not a reason why you send somebody to do a mental health evaluation. You're abusing the system. That's not what it's there for. They have people who are truly sick. This is not a game. And she was very upset about it. But anyway, she went ahead and she did the evaluation, and they totally dismissed her evaluation. They did not acknowledge her evaluation. And mind you, this psychologist,
after requesting it.
Yes, this psychologist, she is one of the top psychologists in Delaware. One of the top. So she's not no mediocre psychologist. She stopped. She have her own practice, and just because she's not playing the games with them, they want to try to discredit what she wrote about me. She wrote that there's nothing wrong with me psychologically, but they're still holding on to say that something is wrong with me. So in this DFS case that they have open to going on to 6 months now, that's what they're coming with, that I have mental health issue. Like I told the supervisor, because now my case has gone to a supervisor at DFS, and she stated that that the case went on this long because the person who was on my case originally, she quit, and the case just forwarded to her. She's new to the case, and she don't understand why they have mental health sticking in my case. So I said, I don't either. I said, well, I guess it's something for you to find out. And I said, I hope that nobody's just saying that I have mental health issue as an excuse to take my child. I said, they better have enough proof and written documentation from a doctor that diagnosed me that I have mental health evaluation, that nobody's saying it. Because if anybody who just write down that I have mental health evaluation and use that to take my child from me, I am coming for you. I told her just like that, I am coming for you. So I'm sitting back. I'm not going to engage with them because they're choosing people who they want. And that, like you said, we have to be careful who we engage with, because this can turn out to be very disastrous for us when they're choosing people that they want, and to write what they want. We have to be very, very careful, because this is why people cases go on for years and years and years, because we keep playing into people that they recommend for us. And we're not questioning things. We're not questioning people's credential. Yes, this went on for 4 years for me, but now I'm learning. And Marianne, I must say, I'm very grateful for your show, because I listen to a lot of people's podcasts. I listen to your podcast daily, and I learn a lot from people. And I, analyze. This is a cycle, keep going on and on and on. And I said, I'm not going to keep doing this, because if people stop, you come emotionally burn out. And that's why they say you're crazy, because you get so emotionally invested in it. You're not thinking straight. You're not able to think straight. You're not able to focus. And now that I just sit and disengage, I'm able to see things better. And, thank God, me and Nick talk a lot. And like I said, I listen to a lot to your podcast. And they have 4 main people that I really took a lot away from. And I have been doing a lot of thinking for the last days. And everything that I thought about, everything that I run by Nick, discussion that we had, I can see now that I'm sitting back, all of these things are playing out clearly. Now with the counselor trying to re-engage me when she don't have a background in psychology to label anybody as having mental health issues. They want her, they're trying to get me to re-engage with her. DFS now have it that I have mental health issue, even though it was not written or stated in the previous psychological evaluation that I have something wrong with me, you know?
They're grasping at straws right now, is what they're doing.
Yes, yes. And the father know what they're planning to do, because my daughter was sick like 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, she was getting high fevers from the daycare. It started from the daycare. The daycare, this is Little Einstein on Possum Road in Newark, Delaware. My daughter was there with over 102 fever, 100 to 204 fever. They did not call anybody. They did not, I don't even know if they consult any medical professional, but she was there until I got her after 4 that afternoon. So all day my daughter was there sick. So there, the daycare too is coinciding, colluding with the father and the counselor and everybody. And she haven't, gotten over her cold and everything. So she's still really now still trying to shake things off.
Speaking of colluding, that's one thing I wanted to point out. When you're in this type of situation, that's how you know the difference between biasness and collusion. Collusion means there's probably money being thrown around, or at least you're buddy with somebody. But bias means you got deceived into some information from one side or another, and now but the judge is supposed to be impartial, and so are all these other professionals too, but they're not, as you can see in Marineka's case. And so this is how you know that you have collusion, and it's not just stupidity and biasness. You got all these different parties that, one, like Marineka had said, that she couldn't find any credentials that this person had, and Marianne even said in her case, and so see the pattern there and that, and then you can also make connections with the different people involved, and then like Marineka had said, they bring him back in this therapist that had helped them in the past, and then she's saying, this therapist is saying, I have an order for you to do this, but then she says she didn't get no order. And I'll bet you if we went and requested with the clerk, there is no order in there. But again, this also shows they're grasping at straws, trying to get her to react, but they're making more mistakes, is exactly what her and I did, what we did to do. Because like I'd said before, I made up a whole bunch of tripwires for them, and they're walking through them right now as we speak.
Could they be biased against Marineka for other reasons?
I mean, there could be biasness in it, but we have collusion here because you have so many people interconnected with one another, and then keep coming back and coming forth. And like I even said, where the credentials ain't even right for the situation. Because even if it was biased, you would have the right person in there. The right person for the right job, just like you need the right tool for the right job. And so even in a biased situation, they would have the right person in there for that. In a colluded, it wouldn't be so much. It's whoever they can get to puppeteer that has enough credentials to slide as expert witness, so to speak, which is what we have in this case with Marineka. And then that's more often than not. Like I told her, once we get into the actual court minutes, where they were arguing off paper, well, it went on paper in a form of minutes, and that's where a lot of your rights violations and all that are actually happening, is when the case is being argued. You'll find about 30% of your violations and all the different filings and motions and all that, but most of it you'll find in the courtroom itself, and that's when it's really barraging you. And I'm sure Marineka has told you some of her stories in the past about, like I heard her say something about how she had uh, went in without a lawyer, and how the judge's demeanor changed and all that. And then there was a rights violation because she had asked for a lawyer, and then the judge proceeded without that, and that's a Miranda rights violation. Period. There's just no argument there. She should have put the hearing out for her to have representation, and it's happened more than once.
Yeah. And Marianne, what I want to say is it's not more of biasness in this case too, it's more of a vindictiveness. Because remember, when this case first began, I went without an attorney in the beginning. And they have done a lot of wrong things, and I have requested that the judge be removed from the case, from the gate. So I had made more than one complaint for her to be removed, and they said that she have to recuse herself, and she refused to recuse herself from the case. Right? She refused to recuse herself from her case. So ever since those complaints that I made, she keep being just keep going on and on and on and on and on, and the vindictiveness keep going on, and the biasness and the humiliation and everything keep going on. So when she did finally grant my daughter father sole custody in April, and when I went and I read the law, like, you didn't have no grounds to take my child from me. Your grounds, your reason was because I didn't want to engage in co-parenting class was one of your reasoning, and lack of communication. That is not a law for you to take somebody's child. It's not in the law for lack of communication and not participate in a co-parenting class for you enough grounds for you to take somebody's child.
It's bully tacticking is what it is. It's gaslighting in psychology. They do a lot of it.
It seems like there's a lot of vindictiveness, and not just in my case, vendettas.
Yes.
Especially if you try to fight it in any way, shape, or form, and you do not go along with the way they want it to proceed, and you go against the grain in any way. That's the word I was looking for. If you go against the grain in any way, whether you have right to or not, you can guarantee that they're going to come lashing back at you, and usually off record. It'll appear like it's on record, but it's not on record. Kind of like this court order thing with her having to go back to the therapist.
Right.
So yes, and so after she took my daughter in April, I did reach out to the governor, which he did write back and said that the governor, they don't get involved in stuff like that. I write the Bar Association, I write ACLU, I write the commissioner for DFS. And I think those people that
nobody takes responsibility. No,
I haven't got a response from any of those people, so it's more of a vindictive. Yeah.
I did a podcast a couple of days ago with Reedy Chickaroo of Our Children Matter Most, and she's in Texas, but I'm going to also put you in contact with her because they've got plans going on. They do shanty walks, which is a peace walk, but they've got other plans going on with backing of a very large organization, and they will be starting class action lawsuits on any bad actors. I'm going to let you talk to her. And, you tell her I sent you.
Actually, I did watch the podcast.
Yeah. This has got to stop.
Yeah. And, you using, and it's like I tell the DFS social worker, I said, I really don't need to engage further because I have nothing else to say because, I have all these proof that my child is being abused by the father's house. But like every time, everything always turned around back on me. So now you're trying to figure out what are you going to do? Now I have you concerned. You're so concerned about mental health, but she's still coming by me. You're so concerned about that I'm abusing her, but she's still with me on the days when I have her, for the days that I have her. Now you're trying to figure out how are you going to stop those days, stop my visitation for me to have supervised visitation, what the father wants. Every other Sunday for 2 hours or whatever time, like they said, whatever time the center allotted. So you want to take away all my visitation from me. You don't want me to have no contact with this child, period. And he is something else. Like he told my daughter, if I don't pay the child support money, I don't have a daughter. And that's one thing. And then he's carrying on again with this smear campaign of me having a mental health issue. Because like I said, she was sick a couple of weeks and we went to the hospital. And I was at the back with the doctor, and I overheard this person ranting and raving. And I said, wait a minute, why that sounds like him? So he came and make a big commotion at the hospital that I have mental health issues and I'm keeping his child from him and a whole bunch of foolishness. But, you know, when he finished his smear campaign, he was like, oh, I'm going back to work now.
Oh, that
didn't
is
even
like,
come see
and
his
he had
kid.
to let the whole hospital know that he have sole custody. He have sole custody, sole residence. So he had to make the big grand entrance, and nobody thought anything of it. And to add, the social worker at the hospital, first she had an attitude with me, telling me she don't want to talk with me because I didn't want to talk in front of him, because he was saying why. She asked him in front of me why he got sole custody, and he wanted bring up all these reasons. And my friend was there, and I was like, I know this was not going to be a good it's not a good timing for this. You don't know how you're just going to escalate the situation. Because we were at the hospital. My friend came to the hospital with me from 4 o'clock in the morning. He never showed up, 11 o'clock, and ranting and raving, sole custody and mental health issue. I know it was not going to end nice, so I quickly de-escalate that situation. I told the counselor, I think she need to take him one side and talk to him, because I did not want him to get into a scuffle with my friend, because I know exactly that was going to happen.
How did the hospital handle that?
Very poorly.
I'm sorry.
Very poorly. So the counselor, I said, first, when I realized what they were doing, I took out my phone and I started recording. People need to start recording these people. Recording. I said,
and let them know you're recording, unless you're like in Virginia.
Yes, I said, I'm recording you. So when the counselor realized, that the social worker at the hospital realized, oh shoot, I messed up. She came back and she apologized, and then she wanted to listen to the situation and all of that stuff. But you already messed up. And all of this was going on in front of my daughter, in the presence of my daughter.
And that child does not need to be hearing any of this.
That her mom is no good, her mom is mentally ill, and all of this stuff. And they did not separate.
No, the social worker was totally out of line.
Yes, they stand up there and they carry on, yes. And now she's being coached to act like, you know, Chucky from Child's Play. So I took her back to the center Friday, and I don't even know if I was shocked. I don't even know if I was in disbelief, but she act like she came from Chucky. So disrespectful, because that's what they're telling her to do. And she's playing it out. She's playing out everything that she's coached to do. She's playing it out. But I did not respond. I did not respond. And, you know, and that's one thing I want to tell your listeners. They have to get numb to certain things. You can't feed into everything. And that's the mistake I was making, feeding in and breathing into everything. You can't feed in and breathe into everything. You have to get numb. Like his response, like the response that Nick, you know, I know you had asked me how I feel about it. I had to disengage my mind. I never went back and read that stuff. Today's, after you wrote it the first time, today's again, I'm listening to it. But for me to go back and read it myself, I disengage. I realize that I have to disengage. You have to make yourself numb, because these people don't care. They don't care how they make you feel. They don't care how they affect you mentally, psychologically. They don't care how they affect your children. Excuse me. They don't care about any of these things. So when you're responding to them the way I am dealing with them, you have to make yourself numb and disengage, period. Because you're going to keep going through a roller coaster over and over, and it's going to go on for years. And not only that, is draining you mentally, physically, emotionally, financially too. Financially, you're putting in more money, and you're not getting anything out of it.
Yeah, you're
not getting anywhere with it. And like Nick explained, it's a bad business.
It's a bad business investment. You got more outgoing out than you got coming in. The only logical, and this is business. no matter how you want to, it's business to them.
Yes.
And so you got to look at it as a business investment. If you got more going out and coming in, then you're going to eventually have to close your doors. So why not do that sooner than later, before you go into bankruptcy even. And so but also wanted to point out how Marineka had said, they don't care, and what shows they don't care is they, it's not just they're not caring. They're like let's say I was to or Marineka was to murder me, and Marianne witnessed that and didn't say anything, that Marianne's conspiring with you. and so when you're reporting to officials that your ex's household is abusing your daughter, and then they're not doing any investigation on this at all and deflecting it onto you, that means they're accessory to her abuse.
Correct.
But nobody's looking at it this way, and there's no laws that says they're in trouble for that accessory. Correct. In fact, they're immune from this. And then that's the problem with family court, is you got three elements to it, and when you have these three elements, you can guarantee there's going to be corruption. It's not a matter of if, it's when. One, you can make up rules on the fly. Two, there's money involved. And three, there's no accountability. And especially when you have no accountability and immunity with that accountability, what's one to do? And what's one to do to fight that? And then two, they can do whatever they want to do, however they want to do it. And they can be breaking the law without any recourse to be done. Like even like Marineka had said, she tried to get a judge. Things like that should get a judge replaced, let alone disbarred. And then that's another thing. A lot of these family court judges are actually, how does a ex-police officer become a judge? Because he practiced law? No, he enforced the law. There's a difference between law and practicing and enforcement. But I've seen cases where police officers have become judges. Why? Because they collude well. That's why, because they collude very well.
And they're easily
and then
bought
that's
off.
why like her therapists come in too, and they keep going back to, because that therapist colludes well. And so
very much so. So you have to keep your sanity. You have to, and I'm I have no regrets in disengaging, because I'm able to see things, like one attorney asked me if I know how to play checkers. And I tell her no. Chess. If I know how to play chess, and I said no. So I said okay, because my daughter's not a chess piece. People emotions are not game pieces. So why are we playing chess? But yeah, so I see how it is. So you have to disengage.
It's funny.
You are going to melt yourself and burn yourself down and drive yourself crazy, and give them more reason to see how crazy you are. And stuff like that. So I'm learning along the way. I am so appreciative that I'm learning this now. I know at first I was so emotionally invested, because that's my only child. That's my only child. I'm 40 something, almost 50. I am not making more children. That's my only baby, and I love her dearly. And how dare you want to say I don't know how to bond with my child, when I was a single mom from when she was 2 months. The father walked out when she was 2 months. He abandoned us. So the judge said that was an abandonment. He left, went to work, and never came back until he came back with the police to my house for his stuff. You say that's not abandonment? The same judge, this same very judge, was in my divorce case in 2018, all the way up to now. And she's handling the child support case. She's handling everything. I don't understand how you have it. So that's another reason why I disengaged from her. Because you have the same judge from the beginning of time, handling everything. And if you bias to me in all these other areas, you're not going to be fair in the others, on the other side. You're going to continue to bias.
It's called impartiality. And you can, this is how you get judges removed. and
Yes.
venues moved and stuff like that.
Yes.
Is this type of proof, and they'll still deny you anyway.
Yes. So why engage with them? Why engage? Why engage?
And I'm
Yeah,
glad
because
you said
sometimes
that.
when you engage more, you incriminate yourself, so to speak,
Yes.
further.
I'm
Yes.
glad you said that, Nick, about changing the venue. With this judge, there's been too much goings on with this judge. She's overly involved. She
Yes.
should relinquish and move it to another venue. It just makes sense, but not to them. As you said, this is a kangaroo court.
Yes.
Oh, this is just terrible.
Well, all family court technically is. Because when you look at the 3 hallmarks of a kangaroo court and you read it, you'll go, oh, this goes on in family court. And this is how you know it's illegal to begin with. I don't care which side you're on, her side or his side even. Both their rights have been, and the child's rights have been violated. Why? Because there's no jury. You have the right to a jury. You do. And then you could even try to invoke it in that courtroom, and I'll bet you they'll deny it. But you have the right to a jury. That's Miranda rights. It doesn't say unless you're in family court. It doesn't say that. It says you have the right to one. And then they usually only want to give you 6. Ask for 12.
Right.
That's
always.
double the amount. You always want more. But yeah, that so with that premise right there, they're violating everybody's rights that walk in the door immediately. And so you know that it's an illegal court right there, because that if they violated that one, what else are they going to violate? And we could go into Marineka's case and show you how many different times.
And there's no Zoom for Marineka's case. There's no Zoom to type into watch to be a court watcher.
No. They don't have any. They don't
Oh,
have
wow.
any.
Say, yeah. Going forward, you say, I won't comply unless it's on Zoom. And then that's the other thing. We need to find out if there's other Zoom cases going on and they're just skipping you.
Interesting.
That's a big, write that down. Write that down, because that's a big right there. Because that will also help establish their biasness and collusion, and they don't want anything on camera. And here's the pattern, Marineka and viewers, is they also had told her at one point, you can't record stuff.
Yes, the judge Natalie Haskins
ordered her to not be recording. The dad can, but she can't.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, and his attorney could bring, and his attorney could make his attorney could bring those things that he's videotaping as evidence, but I can't. Yes. And one thing I want to point out quick with this judge in this child support case, just a little that I didn't mention before. When the child support case, when she first did the custody order, she had my daughter, for my ex to have my daughter in part-time daycare. He went and signed her up for full-time daycare. So, I was paying child support for full-time daycare. So when the attorney after that I had at the time tried to bring up what he was playing games with the daycare situation, the judge, Natalie Haskins, said she didn't want to hear anything about no daycare. We're not here to discuss about daycare matter. We're here to discuss custody. She went secretly after that case and changed that order that she had for part-time daycare to full-time daycare, because at that time he had her in full-time daycare. Guess what he did after when she did that? After she secretly changed from the part-time daycare to full-time daycare, he went back and signed her up for part-time daycare. So on child support record, I am paying for my child being in full-time daycare when she's in part-time daycare.
Oh, I am sorry. This is the ultimate greed. And if these judges can't see who the fit parent is, as Nick has said, as we all have said on these podcasts, it all revolves around money.
Well, yes. And then they usually choose the parent that has mental health conditions. I see a clear pattern in this.
Right. See,
at least 9 out of 10 times.
They'll call,
especially a narcissist.
Oh,
especially if they identify there's a narcissist that walks in the courtroom, that judge goes, "Yep, that's the side I'm picking."
And the thing is, they'll call a parent mentally ill, and then they'll hand the kids over to the abuser, but expect that mentally ill person to hold a full-time job and pay child support. It just doesn't work that way. You can't have a mentally ill person that you're calling mentally ill, who has possibly even lost their job, pay child support. What are they doing to people?
Well, all these different agencies that are involved with family court are corrupt too, whether it's CPS or it's child support enforcement, you name it. All of them, all across the board, are put in place to put hurt on a certain side of the, and then that, like, we'll give an example. It's like they'll give child support at a high rate, and then a lot of times, especially if you're dealing with a narcissist, they'll find a co-alienator. And so now they've got their co-partners money, they've got their income, and then they've got 60% of their ex's income. And so they've got all this money to bring a fight to you, while the ex that's being abused has nothing. They can't fight. They have to fight in pro se if they fight at all.
Right.
A lot of people just give up, say, what can I do? And they don't do anything. They just like don't respond, and everything goes against them, and they got all these judgments, but you're going to have them no matter what. That's the problem. No matter how hard you fight it. In some cases, the harder you fight it, the more you might get.
Yeah.
Unless you take it other venues, which we'll go into tomorrow. But yeah, there's only one way to fight this right now, or two ways, and then outside of that, we need to change the laws. That's the other thing that I wanted to say to the viewers, because there has to be major change done here.
Exactly.
And it's going to take the whole village coming together to make it happen. And so we need to get an overhaul of court systems. We need to get overhaul of how CPS works, or maybe even how it goes away altogether, because it's 86% failure rate anyway, right on their own website. They say 86% of cases are unfounded. Why are we even paying for an organization like this that only has about 16% effectiveness?
That's why I'm looking forward to our podcast tomorrow. But if people want to reach either of you, how do you want to be contacted?
Probably by email would be the best.
Okay. And what's your email?
It's Klaus, KLAUS .GILES @gmail.com. And if it's like in a real emergent case, especially if you know somebody, Marianne or Marineka or something like that, you're welcome to give them my number too. And so,
okay. And Marineka, how do you want to be contacted?
They could contact me by email, startpositive2019@yahoo.com.
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
Start positive is what STARTPOSITIVE 2019@yahoo.com.
Okay. All right. So I will be contacting you both tomorrow, and we will resume. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Appreciate you having us.
Thank you, Nick.
You too. Thank you.
Marineka.
Slam the Gavel is a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these family courtrooms. I'm your host, Marianne Petrie, author of Dismantling Family Court Corruption, Why Taking the Kids Was Not Enough, and Cry Out for Justice, Poems of Truth. Again, please join us here with Marineka and Nick Giles in here tomorrow. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.